All right, let's dive into a question that every single business, big or small, has to face. How do you make smart investments for the long haul? I mean, it's all about taking the money you have right now and making the absolute best choice to build a stronger future. So let's get right into it. Okay, so let's put you in the hot seat for a second. Imagine you're the CEO. You've got a cool $1 million burning a hole in your company's pocket. Now, one team is pitching you on a shiny new factory. They're promising you can crank out more product for years and years. But then another team comes in and says, no, 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 we need to upgrade all our technology. They're promising incredible new efficiencies. Both sound pretty great, right? But here's the catch. You can only afford one. So, how do you possibly make a choice that could literally shape the future of your company? Well, thankfully, you don't have to just flip a coin or go with your gut. There's actually a structured, logical process for this exact kind of problem. It's called capital budgeting. And really, it's just the formal way companies figure out which big projects are worth the money. It all comes down to using a powerful set of financial tools to see which path is actually going to create the most value in the long run. Okay, but before we crack open that toolbox and look at the different methods, we have to get one thing straight. There's a core concept, really the single most important idea in all of finance. It's so fundamental that we're going to call it the golden rule of money.
So what is it? It's called the time value of money, or TVM for short. And the idea is super simple but incredibly powerful. A dollar today is worth more than that same dollar a year from now. So why is that? It's all about potential. See, the money you have in your hand right now can be put to work. It can be invested, it can earn interest, it can grow.
Yeah, think of it like this. A dollar today isn't just a dollar. It's more like a seed. You can plant that seed by investing it, and it can grow into something more. But a dollar that you're only going to get a year from now, well, it's just a dollar. It's missed out on a whole year of that potential growth. And that missed earning potential, that's the real cost of waiting. It's exactly why we have to figure out what all those future dollars are really worth in today's terms. All right, so now that we've got that golden rule, the time value of money, locked in our brains, it's time to open up that capital budgeting toolbox. We're going to look at 3 of the most important tools that decision makers use, and the key thing is they all respect that golden rule. First up, we've got net present value, or NPV. You can think of this one as the heavyweight champion of capital budgeting. It's the big one. And here's what it does. It takes all the cash a project is predicted to bring in over the years, and it pulls all that future money back to the present, figuring out what it's worth today. Then it subtracts what you have to pay up front to start the project. What you're left with is one simple, powerful number that tells you exactly how much value that project will add to your company in today's dollars. And the best part, the rule for using NPV is incredibly simple. If the NPV is positive, greater than 0, you do the project. It's adding value. If it's negative, you walk away. It would actually destroy value. It's that black and white. You're hunting for those positive NPV projects. Okay, but hang on. Let's go back to our original problem, right? The factory versus the tech upgrade. What happens if you run the numbers and they both have a positive NPV? They both look like good investments, but you still only have that $1 million to spend. See, NPV is great at telling you if a project is a good idea, but it doesn't always help you choose between multiple good ideas. For that, we need to pull another tool out of the box, and that next tool is the benefit cost ratio, or BCR. If NPV is about how much value you're creating, BCR is all about efficiency. It answers a really simple but crucial question. For every single dollar we put into this thing, how many dollars of value are we getting back? It is, without a doubt, the ultimate bang for your buck measurement. And hey, just like with NPV, the rule here is super straightforward. If the BCR is greater than 1, that means for every dollar you invest, you're getting more than a dollar of value back. That's a green light. If it's less than 1, well, you're actually losing value. So when you've got a couple of good-looking projects but not enough cash for both, you just calculate the BCR for each one and pick the project with the highest ratio. Simple as that.
Okay, so we're building a pretty good picture now, right? NPV tells us if a project is valuable. BCR helps us rank valuable projects. But there's usually one more question that managers want answered. That's great, but what's the return as a percentage? What's the project's actual rate of growth year over year?
And that question brings us to our third major tool, the internal rate of return, or IRR. Now look, the textbook definition can sound a little complicated, but the core idea is actually really powerful.
Just think of the IRR as the project's own built-in annual growth rate. It's the interest rate you're earning on that investment based only on the money it generates. It's the point where the project perfectly breaks even.
So how do you use it? You compare the IRR to something called your cost of capital. And don't worry, that's just a fancy term for the cost of the money you're using for the project, like the interest on a loan or the return your investors demand. If your project's growth rate, its IRR, is higher than the cost of your money, then you're in business. That's a winner. But if the IRR is lower, that means the project can't even earn enough to pay for its own financing. So that's a definite no. So those three tools we just talked about, NPV, BCR, and IRR, they are the gold standard. And the reason why is because they all honor that golden rule we talked about, the time value of money. But there is another, much simpler method you're going to run into, and we need to talk about it, mostly so you understand why it's so risky. It's called the accounting rate of return, or ARR. And the big clue is right there in the name, accounting. See, unlike the other tools that are laser-focused on actual cash flow, money in, money out, ARR is based on accounting profit from the income statement, and that number can include all sorts of things that aren't cash. It just takes an average profit figure and divides it by the investment. And right there, that's its fatal flaw. ARR completely, totally ignores the time value of money. It sees a dollar you might earn 5 years from now as being worth exactly the same as a dollar in your pocket today. And as we know, that's just not true. Because it breaks our golden rule, it can seriously mislead you into making a bad decision. It's simple, yeah, but that simplicity is dangerous. Okay, so we've looked at the good, the bad, and the flawed. So how do we put all this together? How do we use this toolbox to finally make the right call on that million-dollar question? Let's do a quick recap of the whole toolbox. Think of it this way. You start with NPV to answer the most fundamental question. Does this project even add value? Then, if you've got multiple good options, you use BCR to ask, which one gives me the most bang for my buck? And to understand the return in percentage terms, you use IRR to ask, what's the project's growth rate? And ARR, well, you can use it for a quick back-of-the-napkin check, I guess, but you never, ever forget that it ignores the golden rule. So what these tools really do is transform what could be a huge, stressful guess into a smart, data-driven decision. They give you a clear story about value, about efficiency, and about growth. But, at the end of the day, the final decision is still made by a person, which leaves us with one last big question to think about. When you're armed with all this powerful math, when do you trust the numbers and when you trust your gut?